The question of whether Jesus Christ founded the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church is one that has fueled debates and discussions within the Christian community for centuries. Both branches claim a direct connection to the teachings of Jesus, yet their historical development and theological differences have led to distinctive identities. In this video, we will examine the evidence surrounding the origins of these churches and attempt to discern which, if either, was directly founded by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church asserts that its origins can be directly traced to the teachings of Jesus, particularly through the appointment of the Apostle Peter as the leader of his followers. According to Catholic tradition, Jesus bestowed upon Peter the keys to the kingdom of heaven, symbolizing his role as the foundational figure of the Church. This claim is rooted in biblical passages such as Matthew 16 verses 18 to 19, where Jesus says to Peter, "And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Catholics interpret this as Jesus appointing Peter as the foundation of the Church, emphasizing the authority and continuity of the papacy. The historical narrative continues with the belief that Peter, having received this commission, traveled to Rome, becoming the first bishop of the city. Subsequent bishops of Rome, known as popes, are considered the successors of Peter, forming an unbroken line of leadership. On the other side of the spectrum, Protestantism emerged as a distinct movement during the 16th century Protestant Reformation. Figures such as Martin Luther, John Calvin, and others led the charge against what they perceived as corruptions within the Catholic Church. Unlike the Catholic Church, Protestants reject the notion that Jesus directly founded their movement through a specific apostolic succession. Martin Luther, a key figure in the Reformation, challenged the authority of the Pope and questioned certain practices, notably the sale of indulgences. Luther's theological convictions centered on the belief in salvation by faith alone, as opposed to the Catholic emphasis on a combination of faith and works. Protestants also rejected the hierarchical structure of the Catholic Church, advocating for a more decentralized model where individual congregations or denominations could interpret and govern themselves based on the Bible. This marked a departure from the centralized authority under the Pope in Rome. To determine which church, if any, was founded by Jesus Christ, it is crucial to examine the scriptural evidence cited by both sides. For the Catholic Church, the passage in Matthew 16 verses 18 to 19 is central to their claim. They argue that Jesus' words to Peter, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church," signify the establishment of the papacy and, by extension, the Catholic Church. Additionally, passages like Matthew 18 verse 18, where Jesus gives authority to bind and loose to all the apostles, are interpreted as further evidence of a hierarchical structure. Protestants, however, contend that Jesus' statement in Matthew 16 is not a direct endorsement of the papacy, but rather a recognition of Peter's confession of faith. They emphasize that the Bible does not explicitly establish a papal office or a specific apostolic succession. Instead, Protestants argue for the primacy of the Bible as the ultimate authority in matters of faith and practice. Turning to historical development, it is essential to consider the early Christian community and how it evolved in the centuries following Jesus' ministry. The Catholic Church traces its lineage through the early bishops of Rome, with Peter considered the first bishop. Historical records show the development of a centralized authority in Rome, and by the time of the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, the Bishop of Rome, Pope Sylvester I, played a prominent role in the proceedings. Protestants, however, point to the simplicity of the early Christian gatherings, where local congregations were led by elders or overseers. They argue that the hierarchical structure seen in the Catholic Church developed over time and was not present in the early years of Christianity. One of the key differences between the Catholic and Protestant churches is their approach to tradition. The Catholic Church places significant importance on sacred tradition, considering it alongside the Bible as a source of divine revelation. This includes teachings passed down through the centuries by the Church Fathers and Councils. Protestants, in contrast, adhere to the principle of sola scriptura, which asserts that the Bible alone is the ultimate authority in matters of faith and practice. They argue that traditions that developed over time within the Catholic Church may not align with the original teachings of Jesus and the apostles. As Christianity expanded, theological debates arose, leading to the convening of various ecumenical councils. These councils sought to address doctrinal issues and establish a consensus on matters of faith. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, for example, addressed the nature of Christ, while the Council of Chalcedon in 451 AD focused on the hypostatic union. The Catholic Church played a central role in these councils, and the formulation of key doctrines, such as the Nicene Creed, reflects the influence of the bishops of Rome. The development of doctrines, including the understanding of the Trinity and the nature of Christ, became defining elements of Catholic theology. Protestants, while affirming essential Christian doctrines, diverged on certain theological points. For instance, Lutherans, Calvinists, and Anglicans had different perspectives on issues like predestination and the sacraments. These doctrinal differences contributed to the fragmentation of Protestantism into various denominations. In the quest to determine which church, if any, was founded by Jesus Christ, the evidence is nuanced and subject to interpretation. The Catholic Church presents the biblical passage in Matthew 16 and the historical continuity of the papacy as evidence of its direct connection to Jesus. Protestants, however, question the legitimacy of the papacy and emphasize the primacy of the Bible as the sole authority.